an agreement seems to be taking shape between the United States and Iran, aimed at terminating the conflict and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. US President Donald Trump stated that the deal had been largely negotiated. The timeline and mechanisms for the finalization of the agreement, as well as the implementation schedule of its various components, remain uncertain. Trump conducted telephone conversations with allies in the Middle East, which included a distinct discussion with representatives from Israel. In the 12 weeks following the initiation of hostilities by the United States and Israel against Iran, which resulted in the deaths of high-ranking officials, including Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Tehran has maintained that any negotiated agreement must prioritize the cessation of combat across all theaters of conflict. This includes Lebanon, where the Iranian-supported militant organization Hezbollah has been engaged in combat with Israel since the early days of the war. Since April 7th, a tenuous ceasefire has been maintained. The end of hostilities would ease apprehensions across a region that has experienced attacks on Gulf sanctuaries and transportation centers, such as the United Arab Emirates, by Iranian missiles and drones. It would allow for global shipping, including an estimated 20% of the world's oil and natural gas, to begin flowing through the Strait of Hormuz again. Additionally, this development would enable the reconstruction of energy-related and other critical infrastructure within the region. Regional authorities have indicated that the proposed agreement encompasses the cessation of hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah, alongside a pledge to refrain from intervening in the internal matters of regional states, including Iran. This provision notably addresses Iran's backing of proxy groups, which extends to the Houthi rebels in Yemen, Hamas militants in Gaza, and Shiite armed factions in Iraq. The United States advocates for Israel to retain unrestricted capacity to respond to perceived threats emanating from Lebanon, a stance that Iran opposes. According to reports, the agreement would formally affirm Israel's right to undertake defensive actions against imminent threats. Now, as Trump searches for an Iran off-ramp, the US military continues to keep a tab on Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and is banking on the A-10 Warthog. The A-10 Warthog's new aerial refueling probe is now operational in the Middle East. Within a span of merely 6 weeks, the newly developed aerial refueling probe progressed from its initial test flight to active deployment in a region where hostilities could potentially resume at any time. Here's all you need to know. A-10 Warthog attack aircraft have played a crucial role in undermining Iran's naval capabilities. While these jets are primarily recognized for their operations on land, they have a long-established, albeit lesser-known, function in maritime warfare. In addition, pilots of the Warthog spent decades preparing for the targeted mission of tracking down Iran's speedboat fleets in and around the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Recent photographic evidence verifies that the A-10 attack aircraft is currently deployed in the Middle East, equipped with its newly installed refueling probe, a modification implemented with notable speed. The Warthog's probe-type aerial refueling capability was initially demonstrated in early April, representing a significant adaptation as the aircraft approaches the latter stages of its operational service life. The A-10 Warthog is the U.S. Air Force's primary low-altitude close air support aircraft. The A-10 has excellent maneuverability at low air speeds and altitude, and is a highly accurate and survivable weapons delivery platform. The aircraft can loiter near battle areas for extended periods of time and operate in low ceiling and visibility conditions. The wide combat radius and short takeoff and landing capability permit operations in and out of locations near front lines. Using night vision goggles, A-10 pilots can conduct their missions during darkness. The aircraft can survive direct hits from armor-piercing and high-explosive projectiles up to 23 millimeters. Their self-sealing fuel cells are protected by internal and external foam. Manual systems back up their redundant hydraulic flight control systems. This permits pilots to fly and land when hydraulic power is lost. The United States and Israel cited Iran's nuclear and missile programs, along with its support for armed proxy groups, as the primary justifications for their attacks on Iran. However, Tehran's subsequent control over the Strait of Hormuz rapidly became a paramount international concern, as it resulted in the immobilization of hundreds of vessels transporting oil, natural gas, fertilizer, and other essential commodities. According to the developing agreement, the Strait of Hormuz would be progressively reopened, in parallel with the United States lifting the blockade of Iranian ports, which had been initiated on April 17th. The blockade has constrained Iran's capacity to export its oil and generate essential revenue for its distressed economy. It has been reported that the United States may permit Iran to sell its oil under sanctions exemptions. Negotiations concerning sanctions relief and the unfreezing of Iran's billions of dollars in assets are expected to take place over a 60-day time frame.